Hello there. If you're here watching this mini training, the chances are you're thinking about buying a property and you may be wondering, are you mad to be buying in this crazy market and crazy world of 2021? So in this 18 slide, roughly 20-minute video, I hope to help you clarify your thoughts. Now, I'm getting used to, perfect. So for those of you who don't know me, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Breffney O'Kelly. I'm a licensed buyer's agent working in Dublin, Ireland. I function as an external authenticator to the National Property Apprenticeship Programme. I provide a done-for-you personalised property finding service and also one-to-one hour coaching property coaching services. I'm an industry speaker. I'm often asked to speak at industry events, and I've been featured in the Irish Times, the Irish Independent, the Journal, and I also have a podcast at Home with Breffney if you're a podcast listener. Now this slide has one glitch in it, and after this particular glitch we'll be off. Okay, so can we guarantee future property values? When I work with clients, obviously one thing I'd love to be able to guarantee them is that the value of the property they buy today will go up once they've bought it. And I'd love to be able to assure you of this too. However, nobody, including me, can foresee the future. But I can help you answer the question, is this a good time to buy, in two key ways. So these two key ways are, one, I can give you up-to-date property market information and future predictions based on what my and other industry experience suggests might happen. Two, I can help you analyse your own personal position. So the three types of market information that are available to us are, we've historical property price trends for the last 50 years, we've current market trends, and we've predictions made by those involved in the property market. So let's have a look at this graph. It shows us property prices from 1974 to 2016. And just FYI, this is up to 2016 in this graph, but we do have more bang up-to-date information in a further slide. It's just that it's only available up to 2016 in this particular format. And I thought it was a useful format to look at because it shows us that while we had a nice steady overall increase between 1974 and let's say 2000 or 1999, then we have an absolute rapid increase for an 8 to 9 year period. And that was, of course, the property boom, followed by a 5-year fall from 2018 to its lowest point at 2013. And as we'll see, and during this rapid rise, you'll see the property prices more or less doubled, having been rising properly and steadily, but not crazily, whereas they did a crazy rise in this 8 to 9 year period. So let's just have a look. We'll recap those and we'll look at what's going on today. So from 1974 to 2008, we saw a solid price trend for a sustained period of 34 years, including an unprecedented price boom for an 8-year period between 2000 and 2008. Then we had a post-boom property collapse. That was a 5-year period, followed by, from 2013 to 2018, another 5-year cycle of upward rising prices. Property prices were still 17% off the peak of the boom. And then in 2018 to 2019, we had a stable price trend, which is quite surprising because in Ireland, we don't usually do stable. We tend to be either going up. Obviously, when prices are going up, everyone wants to buy because prices are going up. When prices are falling, nobody wants to particularly buy because prices are falling. So it tends to be a self-fulfilling cycle. And we don't usually tend to stay at a stable point where either confidence is up and we're buying or confidence is down and we're not buying. So we had an odd time of 2018, 2019 where prices were kind of stable and actually they were falling ever so slightly. But what happened then was COVID came along and we had a very slight price increase due to COVID-related property shortages. So you'll see we went up, we went down, we went up And it kind of looked in 2019 like we were going to start going down again. But then COVID happened and it had the reverse effect of what was anticipated. Prices kind of stabilized and went up ever so slightly. Firstly, in COVID, they fell, but then they rose by a higher degree by which they sell, finishing in an overall property price increase in 2020. So if COVID hadn't happened, might the stable to very slightly negative price trend that was emerging in 2019 have been the start of a sustained price drop for over a period of 5 years, given that we had been slightly tending to go in 5-year cycles? We don't know. But what we do know is COVID did happen. And this is where the market is currently at, e.g. rising slightly. Is it a little bump or is it the start of a sustained rise? Well, again, let's look at some industry predictions. So here are some predictions. We'll start with the negative ones first. Now, when I say negative, by that I mean these are predictions that might result in a stabilizing of prices or in a falling of prices. So we anticipate that there'll be an increased supply of property for sale later on in this year, later on in 2021. And this will be resulting from vaccine-related ability to move freely. Let's assume we get, the higher the vaccination rate goes up, the more movement there'll be. The more movement there is, the more functioning the property market. The more functioning the property market, the more likely people are to sell their houses. So this increased ability for the housing market to return to normality should get rid of this premium that's being paid right now by too many people chasing too few houses. And maybe it'll see us come back to this stable or slightly falling trend that we saw in 2019. Also, we expect that continued post-boom central bank restrictions on the amount you can borrow, the loan to value, and the multiple of income that you can borrow, that these restrictions will keep working to avoid the crazy boom style lending that we saw during the boom, which in turn should keep prices from rapid rising. So what we're saying is that the central bank introduced restrictions on the amount you could borrow at the point after the boom to stop this ever happening again. And to a large extent, they were successful. The boom didn't happen again because we couldn't borrow as much. And let's hope that, and we imagine that will prevail. And so our final prediction, or something that we can't rule out, is that something altogether unanticipated will happen in the world. Let's think of Lehman Brothers collapse, the Twin Towers attack, the election of Trump, the happening of Brexit, COVID, the recent Capitol Hill riots. All these things have happened recently, and all these major world seismic shocks have an effect that trickles to a greater or lesser impact onto the property market and impacts house prices. So we can't rule out at this point, given all the precedent we have, the possibility of some enormous seismic event happening in the future. And who knows, maybe that'll go up, but maybe it'll make prices go down. We just don't know. So more positive price trend predictions. Right now, if you have money on deposit, you are earning negative interest. Therefore, it's likely that people who have money on deposit are likely to start putting that money into the property market, driving prices up. We currently are witnessing the highest number of mortgage approvals in place. These are people who are approved by the banks to borrow since 2011. So this should see more buyers in the market in the next 12 months, which in turn will drive prices up. We seem to have done an awful lot of saving as a nation and as a world during the pandemic, and these savings, at least part of these savings, are likely to find their way into the property investment market. And what's likely to continue is that house prices will continue to uncouple from their traditional link to unemployment rates. It's typical and usual that if unemployment rates, the higher the unemployment rate, the lower property prices drop. However, last April, we witnessed a huge surge in unemployment up to 28% unemployment we had, and that had actually had no effect at all on property house prices. And this is probably because those who were made unemployed by COVID actually weren't earning enough at the time to be on the property ladder in the first place. So we're likely to see a continuation of this uncoupling. Also, I have seen myself that COVID has acted as a catalyst for Irish people living abroad who had planned to buy in Ireland at some point or other, fast forwarding their plans and buying now. Again, that's more buyers in the market. That means more likelihood of prices rising. For what it's worth, they seem to be buying at the premium end too. There's also been, actually, I don't know how to go back, I don't think. Or maybe, let me see, slide 13, slide 12. Yes, this is a new way for me to present. Oh yes, I just want to finish off on that last slide, which was the recent introduction of seniors money. This is a new product which allows people, older people who have equity in their house, to release some of that equity, to basically borrow against their equity in their house to give deposits to their children. Now, that is just recently introduced, so that should see more first-time buyers in a position to enter the market, which in turn will drive prices up. So, assessing your own position. Are you actually in a position to buy right now? E.g., have you actually got current loan approval plus a deposit in place? Or have you got cash in the bank to the tune of the value of a property you'd like to buy? Or do you need to sell before you buy? So let's take a look. If you've loan approval or cash in place right now, then you're technically able to buy in this market. That is useful to know. You actually are a buyer. A lot of people think they're buyers, but they don't have their loan approval, or they don't have their loan approval, so they are not buyers. If you have your loan approval in place and your cash in place, then you actually are a buyer in this market. If you don't have loan approval or a deposit saved, then you need to get your finances in order by obtaining current loan approval. There's a good website, GMC. They have a lot of information on their website, which applies to if you're a first-time buyer, if you're trading up, if you're trading down. They have advice on their website, and so might be useful to you. So let's again keep having a look at your own position. If you need to sell a property before you buy, then this is the single most important action for you to take right now. You won't actually be able to view or have a bid accepted on any property until you can show that you have a binding contract in place to sell your home. So that is the most important thing you need to do right now. But assuming you have your finances organised and everything is in place, is this the right time for you to buy? Well, what I suggest you do is that you consider that this is actually a golden moment. It's a moment where your means, your ability to purchase, your funds, your desire, your time and your health all intersect. And that, as we know, jobs and bosses change. Our income generating potential can go down as well as up. So this ability that you have to borrow now, it should not be taken for granted. All of these conditions may not remain constant. So why wait? Why assume they will remain constant? A market match check is now needed. So by this I mean, I want you to see at this point, does your budget match your needs and your preferences in terms of a property? E.g., can you point to one or two examples of properties for sale right now that match your needs and your preferences in terms of location, size, the type of property, e.g. an apartment or a house, and the condition of the property? If not, then you need to adjust your criteria until you find this property sweet spot, or you may need to save more money so that you can actually afford to match so that you can afford the property that you actually want. But if you find that right now you can put your finger on one or two properties that suit you in a place that you like, in a condition that's reasonable for you, then there may be no advantage to waiting. The market doesn't just stay the same. The market is volatile. If you're a match for this market, don't assume you're going to stay a match for this market. If you aren't selling, the future property value may not matter. Let's say you plan to live in this property for the foreseeable future. The actual market value of your property in the next few years may not be relevant to you. You won't be selling it. You'll be living in it as your home. Maybe it doesn't matter what it's worth on paper. If you buy a house right now or buy a property, it saves you time and mental energy. Making a decision to buy this house at this price at this time means you don't have to spend another minute looking on Daft or My Home, going to viewings, talking to agents, or thinking about this whole issue. There's a value to you in getting this time and mental energy back. No more house buying conversations. If you commit to buying a property now, it means you no longer have to engage in conversations with your spouse, your friends, yourself, or any others about this topic. Now you can talk about other issues. There's a joy in establishing a home base. There's a value in the joy to be found in establishing yourself in your own home and tailoring your home and your garden to suit your preferences and needs. This may not have a monetary value or value that you can put figures on, but it does have a value. So these are the 6 ways that you may use to help assess your own personal position. So now you've both hard information and expert predictions on the subject of whether this is a good time to buy. And you've also had a chance to consider the value of issues that can't be measured in euros, but which truly add value to the quality of your emotional and well-being and mental well-being. So while you can't put figures on all the 6 issues we just considered there, they do have a value and it's not to be discounted. So I hope you find your thinking is clearer, and I wish you every success with your property search. And we have one more slide to go. 2 more slides to go, actually. If you'd prefer to get some individual help with your decision to buy a property now or to wait, or if you'd like to talk through your unique property wishes, your needs, your budget, and how to find your sweet spot, then you might like to book a session with me, a 1-hour coaching session with me. I look forward to working with you if you do. I love property coaching. So here's a link to book a 1-hour consultation, and there are testimonials from clients. I would say click exit on that button here. That's annoying us all, but I'm not sure that I may lose all the slides if I do. So our final slide is thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with your search.